You ever feel like your own mind is just a tangled knot? Well, today we're going to deconstruct that knot, step by step. And we're using a toolkit from one of history's great analytical minds, Sammādiṭṭhisutta, one of the Buddha's chief disciples. He lays out this method called right view. And it's not some belief you have to memorize. Think of it more like a lens, a way to systematically understand why we suffer, and maybe, just maybe, how we can stop.
So, it all kicks off with this really fundamental question. A group of monks comes up to Sammādiṭṭhisutta, and they're basically asking, look, how do we know we're on the right track? What is this right view thing for real? They're not looking for dogma. They want a practical guide. And Sammādiṭṭhutsa's answer, it just unfolds in these incredible layers, each one digging deeper and deeper into the mechanics of our own minds.
So where does a master analyst like this even begin? You might think it's with some super abstract cosmic philosophy, but nope. He starts right here, on the ground, with our everyday actions and the hidden reasons we do them. The very first layer of right view is just seeing the difference between what's skillful and what's unskillful. It's the ethical foundation for everything that's about to come.
Okay, and here's the really crucial distinction. Unskillful isn't just about the bad things you do, like harming someone or lying. It's about why you do them. It's about the roots: greed, hate, and delusion. And on the flip side, being skillful isn't just not doing bad stuff. It's about actively growing actions that are rooted in things like contentment, love, and understanding. The first step is just seeing that direct link, you know? What's going on inside is what creates our world outside.
So the students get it, but you can tell they're thinking, okay, but there's got to be more to it, right? And this question, it just keeps popping up in the text. And it's what drives the whole teaching deeper. It's Sammādiṭṭhuta's method, you see. He gives a clear answer, and then he waits for them to ask for the next level. They're hooked. They're ready. So he takes them there.
All right, so next up, Sammādiṭṭhutta introduces this really powerful concept to explain our existence. He asks us to think of our whole experience like a fire, and then to investigate its fuel. What is it that actually sustains us? What keeps this whole process of living and thinking and feeling going? And this term he uses, ahara, it's just brilliant. I mean, it's an old word. It just means physical food. But he totally repurposed it to mean so much more. It also means our psychological intake, the way our minds are constantly grasping onto experiences, our intentions, even consciousness itself. It's the fuel we are actively taking up that keeps the fire of our life burning. So check this out. He breaks fuel down into 4 types, everything from solid food to consciousness. But here's the kicker. Look at the pattern right across the board. The origin of our attachment to all of them is exactly the same. Craving, that constant nagging desire for more. And the path to stop feeding that fire is also the same, the Noble Eightfold Path. He's basically handing them a universal diagnostic tool they can use on anything.
And there it is again, that question, the one that pushes us deeper. Okay, they've got the ethics down, they get the whole fuel concept. Now, it's time for the main event.
So Sammādiṭṭhutta takes that same diagnostic tool and points it right at the big one, suffering, or dukkha. And what is that really? Well, it's the heavy stuff, you know, birth and death. But it's also just that simple, everyday frustration of not getting what you wish for. Its origin? You guessed it, craving. Its end? The total fading away of that craving. That's nibbana. And the path to get there? The Noble Eightfold Path. This classic framework now becomes the lens for an even deeper dive.
Okay, this next part is it's an analytical masterstroke. He takes this big idea of suffering and decides he's going to reverse engineer it. He's starting with the most obvious part of it and then tracing the chain of causes backwards, link by link by link, to find its deepest, darkest root.
All right, let's follow him. Let's trace this thing backward. He starts at the very end. We experience old age and death. Why? Well, duh, because we were born. Okay, but why were we born? He says it's because of this thing called continued existence, a kind of momentum that just carries on. And what drives that momentum? A powerful force he calls grasping.
And this word he uses for grasping, upadana, it's fascinating. The commentary points out that it doesn't just mean passively clinging to things. It's active. It has the sense of taking up. Sound familiar? Just like fuel.
It's the very act of reaching out and grabbing onto a new experience or a new idea that literally fuels our journey into the next moment.
So, what causes this relentless grasping? No surprise here, craving. That deep thirst for things to be different. But where does craving come from? It pops up from feeling. That raw, simple experience of like, dislike, or meh. We crave what feels good, we want to escape what feels bad. And of course, you can't have a feeling without contact, without one of your senses actually meeting the world. Now this next link, nama rupa, or name and form, this is where you really see the genius of this method. This was an old kind of fuzzy philosophical term for like a soul or something, but the Buddha just took it, stripped out all the metaphysics, and turned it into a practical checklist. Form, that's just your physical body. Name, that's the mind's software. Feeling, perception, intention, contact, the whole deal. Together, they are the psychophysical machine that experiences the world.
So the chain is getting really clear now, right? Contact happens through our 6 senses. Our senses are part of that name and form machine, our mind and body. And what animates that entire machine? What makes it all possible in the first place? Consciousness. Just that basic, raw awareness that something is happening.
Okay, we are so close, but here's a huge point. Consciousness isn't some ultimate first cause or soul. It is itself conditioned. Conditioned by what? By our past choices, our sankharas, all those powerful actions of body, speech, and mind that create this momentum. So the final question is, why do we make these choices that keep the cycles spinning? The analysis traces it all back to one ultimate root: ignorance. So there we have it. We've traced this whole tangled mess of suffering all the way back to ignorance. But we're not done. The final layer of this teaching is to put ignorance itself under the microscope. What is it, really? And where on earth does it come from?
So Sammādiṭṭhisutta whips out that 4-part framework one last time. What is ignorance? Well, it's defined as not knowing the very 4 noble truths we've been exploring. But then he's asked, what's the origin of ignorance? And his answer, well, it introduces a twist. He says it comes from the defilements, or asavas. So naturally, the next question is, what are the defilements? And hold on, because here comes the mind-bending conclusion. The defilements include things like sensuality, the desire to be reborn, and, get this, ignorance itself. And their origin? Ignorance. Wait a minute. So ignorance comes from the defilements, but one of the defilements is ignorance? We've just walked right into a perfect circle. And that right there, that's the final crucial insight. We've been looking for a single root cause, a start to the chain, but there isn't one. It's a self-perpetuating feedback loop. Ignorance creates the conditions for more defilements, and those defilements reinforce our ignorance. It's a cycle that just powers itself. So what's the ultimate takeaway here? Sammādiṭṭhisutta doesn't just hand his students a final answer to believe in. He gives them a method, a toolkit for seeing. Right view isn't a destination. It's the lens of analysis itself. It's the ability to see the skillful, to see the fuel, to see the causal chain playing out in your own mind right now. The teaching is a tool. So the final question isn't what the Buddhist said, but where your own analysis begins.